Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the virtual classroom. And in this video, we're going to be talking about specialty products and blockbuster profits, protecting crown jewels. This is part 4 in the video series for Chapter 6 of Shell. And I thought there was really only one place to broadcast from this video, and that's from inside the original Donkey Kong. So let's go inside the original Donkey Kong game. This is how I remember Donkey Kong. This is back 80s era, the original version of it in old 8-bit or even less. I don't know what the graphics were, but this is how I remember playing Donkey Kong when I was a kid. Okay, so we are in the 4th video in the 8-video sequence. Hopefully you are surviving these videos and your time in confinement. So let's look at what do we mean by crown jewel litigation, as Shell terms it. Well, this is where we have a situation with a very important product difference that is unique to this one particular product, and that without which you don't have a business usually. This is the most important business feature. And so what I'd like you to think of, and maybe post your thoughts on the forum about this, what other kinds of products can you think of that have an example of a crown jewel feature, that if for some reason it was lost or taken away, the product would lose all or most of its value. Okay. In this case, in this chapter, the big example was Nintendo and Donkey Kong. And for those of you who don't know, and I think probably everybody knows, but Donkey Kong is loosely based on the movie King Kong, where the ape at the top of the building in New York is swatting away airplanes and stuff. And so what happened in this case was the game was built around this theme, this similar theme, and became a huge success, after which the purported owner of the King Kong copyright, in this case it's a copyright because it was a film, challenged the ownership or challenged Nintendo, the owner of Donkey Kong, the Donkey Kong franchise, and actually sued on the basis that it owned the intellectual property, and sued for an injunction and for remitting of all of the profits. So effectively, at this point in its history, Nintendo probably would have been put out of business had MCA Universal succeeded in this fight. But of course they didn't succeed, and they didn't succeed because Nintendo had to fight this fight. They had to battle, and they went all the way through with the battle, ultimately proving that the movie was in the public domain, and ultimately won the case by challenging MCA Universal's claim to ownership of the game. I'm sorry, not of the game, but of the King Kong, of the movie, the film that the game is based on. And so this is a great example of the kind of litigation that's necessary when the core aspect of your business is under attack. Now, I looked up some other examples of this that I thought were interesting, and I posted in the slides are some links in case you're interested in reading about any of these examples. But there's a long running dispute between the two companies that produce disposable diapers over the various patents associated with them. I was reading about in the story that's linked here. At one point, the incumbent, which was Pampers, the company that makes Pampers, claimed to own the patent to elastic waistbands on diapers, and that was one of the ways that they challenged Huggies when Huggies came into the market. It was a very interesting story because this battle just went on and on and on over the key product that the two companies were fighting over. Now, in the case of pharmaceuticals, we see examples all the time of massive litigation between the competitors over ownership of the intellectual property. So I have here just the two logos of the top company. This was a list. This article is a list of the top fights, legal fights over drug patents, and this one, this was a judgment in the billions. I think it was like $2.5 billion. Toy companies is a classic example because toys are so, well, the market has changed because of online, but it used to be that every Christmas there was almost always some toy that was the hit toy. It was very difficult to predict which toy was going to be the hit or not, but once it hit, then all of these, the market would be flooded with competitors. There's a great story, a long-running story. I remember following it at the time, and in preparation for this, I looked it up again, and it doesn't look like it's still resolved. But this is a battle between Mattel, the owner of the Barbie franchise, and this company that owned the Bratz dolls, which were a competitor to Barbie. And the case was all over whether the Bratz doll was actually created by a person who used to work at Mattel when they worked at Mattel. And on this basis, at one point, Mattel actually won a judgment that turned over the entire brand, the Bratz brand, over to Mattel. But the owner of the company that created the Bratz dolls kept fighting and eventually got that ruling overturned. And it's this enormous multi-year, multi-decade battle over who has the right to this key product. Now, if the company that owns Bratz loses this in the long run, they don't have a company, because the whole distinguishing feature, the design of their doll, that at one point was outselling Barbie, I don't know if it still is, but at one point it was, then that whole business is gone. So protecting that crown jewel, that design, is a big part of that litigation. And then last, and I probably should have done a key legal term alert on this one, but it's important to remember that you cannot protect a concept. And this was highlighted in the Survivor versus the Celebrity Apprentice. I'm sorry, Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which was a complete knockoff on Survivor, except it was kind of a B-list celebrity version of it. And when Survivor first came out, it was hugely popular. And so all the other channels started reality shows that were kind of similar, where you put these people on an island, and, you know, I never watched Survivor, so I don't really know how the show works. I know there's like tribes, and I don't know. I never watched it, but I don't really like most of that reality TV. But there's nothing, even if it's a great idea and it's hugely popular, there's nothing that prohibits the other networks or other channels from producing their version of that kind of a show. And you see this copycat production of movies, TV shows all the time. It used to be much more common back in the day when distribution was more narrow, but now with Netflix and Prime, and plus the original TV networks and all the cable channels, it's a lot harder to narrow a focus on an audience, because the audience is so wide and there's so many choices. Okay, so that's all I have here. Let me know if you have any questions. Post your thoughts in the forum. Do you think that there is do you think that it was fair that Nintendo was able to use the main character from a movie and never have to pay for it? What do you think about the Barbie versus Bratz fight? Let us know. Is there any other kind of crown jewel litigation that you can think of that you would want to discuss? All of those would be great topics for the forum. So from the inside of the Donkey Kong video game, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.